You're an IFBB Pro, Ariana. Troy, you are a, I'm going to say it you're a Masters Pro, Troy. You're a Masters Pro.
Okay, well, first off, I would have had her done Masters Nationals, but she wanted to wait till she was 70 years old. Okay?
That's right. I am getting older. I am going to pull back my poundage. You're still banging while everybody else is going, okay, we used those exercises when we were younger. I'm setting those aside now because of the risk and the vulnerability. You're still in there, crunch fitness, pulling from the floor.
He's back.
Who's back? Skip's back with a new show. This is not between two dumbbells. Could be between three, but that's not the name of the show. This Week in Bodybuilding. That's what we're going to go with. The old reference, you'd have to be dated, much like myself, to remember This Week in Baseball from the 70s, popular TV show. They had the Twib notes. Twib, This Week in Baseball. No. This Week in Bodybuilding. That's what we're going to go with. Anyway, today I have Troy and Ariana Tate. Easy to remember. Ariana Johnson Tate, right? Technically.
Yes.
Like if I was a bill collector, I would send you would have Johnson Tate at the end. But I'm not a bill collector. We're in the bodybuilding industry. You guys are trainers. You're an IFBB Pro, Ariana. Troy, you are a, I'm going to say it you're a Masters Pro, Troy. You're a Masters Pro. You're not a pro. You're a Masters Pro.
I know, right? You always
and I'm going to have fun with it. We're going to talk about this a little bit. Well, we have similar thoughts on it too, Troy. So I'm going to have fun with this. But let's do this first before we dive into the bodybuilding stuff, because I love all the shows I do. Not all the shows I do. The vast majority of the content that I do is training based, because that's the only part that really excites me all that much anymore. The nutrition, and it's a big deal. It's important. But I talk about that from skip loading and everything else all the time. The other thing is I don't want to hear another question about how much tren I should take from a 19-year-old kid. So I try not to talk about the gear, because there's plenty of people talking about gear. And quite frankly, we talk about gear and blood, sweat, and gear. Blood, sweat, and gear.
Right.
So I'm kind of passing on that too. But what I want to do first is I want to dig into your guys' background to get some information. Troy, like we were talking before the show, sometimes some of the best material is, unfortunately, before we push the button. So I want to talk about your backgrounds. I want to talk about how you both became pros. I want to talk a little bit about training. And I also want to talk about the situation that you had with a client who went to, I almost said Masters Nationals, but it wasn't. She'd been to Masters Nationals before, but she went to North Americans and originally didn't get her card, but from what I understand, her pro card, ended up with a pro card. And I want to talk about that because not only yay for her, because I know her from the gym and she's awesome.
Yeah.
But number two, if I didn't know her, I believe I have strong opinions on it. We'll leave it at that. First things first, Ariana, pro. When did you become a pro? Give me some background on what it is that you do, what you're bringing to the table. Say if a client is going to come to you and say, I need somebody to get me right. I need someone to get me lean. I'm thinking about going down this path. Do I go with her?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been in bodybuilding since 2011. A lot of people don't know that. I competed in bikini from 2012 all the way up until I think it was 2014, babe? Right?
That was your last bikini show, was the Europa 2014.
And then from there, I know at my last bikini competition, I was told from the judges, the head judge, you're not made for bikini. You need to go in figure. And I didn't want to go in figure, I'll be honest. I wanted to stay in bikini. I liked bikini, And then I did my first figure show in 2016. And then I won that show. And then from there, I just kind of kept going with it, And then I competed. I did quite a bit of shows. I mean, I've done about 10 shows total. I've done 3 national shows. So, you know, when I competed in, I did my first NPC nationals in 2000, it was 2017.
Yep.
And then I placed top 10, and that was after winning a couple shows and stuff like that. And then I took some time off. I took about 9 months to improve, and then I went and did Southern States. I won that show. Then I went to USA's in gosh, what year was that? 29?
2018.
Was it 20,
No.
2018?
18. Yeah.
Yeah, things. God, things have gone by
Oh
so
yeah.
fast. I think I don't even
Yep.
know where the time's gone. I feel like it's like freaking years ago. I got third at that show, so that was kind of like a punch in the face, honestly, because you know top 2 go pro, and getting third, you're just kind of like, man, I was close, but then I wasn't good enough, but I need more time. And then I took the time off, and then in 2020 I went pro and won. I won my classic clash, and then I went to USA's about, I think it was 5 or 6 weeks later, and then I won my class and I got my pro card. So
nice.
But I've been competing. I mean, it was my 10th show when I went pro. I haven't competed since then.
You jumped from 10th at the Nationals, though, to 3rd at USA's in 1 year. That's a huge jump, you know? And everybody knows, and well, everybody should know in bodybuilding, that the NPC Nationals and the NPC USA's are one of the 2 hardest, difficult shows to go pro in. Am I right, Sid?
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. So to 10th to 3rd to 1st is pretty remarkable, in my opinion. You know,
well,
I'm
and you change divisions too. So that bears the question, or begs the question, had you stayed with Bikini because you liked it more at that time, would it have, and it's a hypothetical because it's hard telling, but would you have gotten a pro card out of it? Or because of changing divisions?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I was more open-minded too, obviously, you know, to certain things, we'll just say. And I think that kind of helped me a little. I mean, obviously it doesn't do everything for you. But when I went pro, okay, so when I competed and when I did NPC Nationals in 2017, I wasn't like, I was doing the show just because I wanted the experience. Like, I wasn't doing it because I wanted to get a pro card out of it. Like, I wasn't like, I have to go pro. I honestly didn't even care about that. But when I competed and I got, you know, 10th, I was kind of like, man, like, I really want to get there. Like, it just kind of gave me that extra push to want to work harder. Cause I don't think I was like, when I did my first national show, I didn't put 110% into it. I'll be honest. I was just kind of like, whatever, like I'm doing it for fun, you know. But then when I did USA's and I got third, that's when I just started to get that, like, no, I want my pro card. I want to go far. I want to do whatever I need to do. I just worked harder. I worked harder. Like I took my diet more seriously. I'll be honest.
I totally get here's what's on my brain, and I can't get that. This is how my brain works. This is the ADD part. As soon as I have something there, it's like I just have to like, blah, 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 and I'm like waiting. So I apologize because sometimes it can seem rude. I apologize.
No, whatever you need.
What I'm thinking is this: when you said you were told to or advised to change divisions, who was that from? Was that from Troy?
No, that was from a judge when I lived out in the Pacific Northwest.
Right, because if Troy would have said that, you'd have been like, yeah, I don't think so. In fact, Troy may have said that, and you didn't listen, and then somebody else told you. I'm only saying that because I've been married for 32 years. Yeah. That's why we had to separate you two. You guys probably have a really good marriage and relationship because you haven't been together for very long, but we still separated you, put you in 2 different rooms.
We've been together a long time. We've been together a long time.
How long?
11 years.
How long? Not 30-something years, but 11 years.
No, I get it.
Not as long as you.
11 years.
Sure.
I'm still considered a baby.
You guys aren't as old as the dinosaur in the room. I get that. Yeah. I get that. Let me transition to Troy real quick. And the reason that I'm picking at you about the Masters Pro is only because, you know, I'm a Masters, and I think, what are similar opinions about that Masters connotation. I almost feel like it takes away from it a little bit, like, oh, it's a lesser of a pro card. At the end of the day, I don't think that that's the case, but I get where you're coming from. So a little bit about your background, a little bit about your thoughts on that. I know a thing or two about training, but I built a reputation in the bodybuilding industry for removing skin. If you have too much skin, call me. Remember, skin is overrated.
Yeah, and here's the thing: when George presented it to me, this is 2013. Okay, so the 35 and over Masters division at state shows and national shows was a new thing. It was always 40. I don't know if you remember that, but the 35 was new.
It should stay 40. 35 is still open kicking ass.
It is. It's like prime age for a man, right? I mean, it should be. It's prime age. It's not
exactly.
Exactly. There's no way a 35-year-old's old enough to be classified as masters, in my opinion. You know what I mean? So I was frankly kind of against.
I completely agree.
I told George, I've never done a masters show, and I don't feel like I'm a masters competitor. You know what I mean? And he goes,
"Is this George the George?"
George Farrah, yeah. So, because I hired him for that.
Okay.
Well, I got 11th at USA's, and I was really, really disappointed after taking a couple of years off. Long story short, and he's like, he went up to me, he goes, "Dude, I've been wanting you to work with me since 2008, and you keep sucking down to a light heavyweight, and you should not be a light heavyweight. You should be a heavyweight. Your frame is not built for that division. Your bone structure, you need to be 215, 220 on stage." You know, and sucking down to below 200 pounds, you lose some things. There's too many things missing. Because yeah, you're dialed, you're shredded, you come in condition, but you're just not formatted to fit that division as far as your peak structure goes. You know, so you keep going into the wrong class. He goes, "You let me take over your prep. You know, I can assure you that you'll be 100%. You've never been 100% before. You know." And I'm like, "Well, 2008, I got third." He goes, "This is not 2008 anymore. You got more tissue on your body. You're older." Yeah. So long story short, he goes, "Do Masters Nationals. I really think you have a shot at a pro card. And who cares where you won your pro card? A win's a win." You know what I mean? They're not going to go. They're not going to down regulate your IFBB Pro card and go, "It's from this show. It's not as reputable as such." That's only your own opinion. No one really cares.
Or the trolls. The trolls will come after you about that too, but they're typically hidden behind that profile picture that is the gray background with the silhouette of the black. You know, it's just funny that's typical. You know, the trolls will always take anything. So even if you had gotten your pro card at Nationals or USA's, they'd still have something to with you over.
And I feel like there's more trolls today than there were 13 years ago or whatever, 2013, or 12 years ago. I feel like it's worse. It's worse. I didn't really get a lot of hate from winning that show like I probably would have if it was today. You know, that's just my opinion. I don't. I could be wrong.
All the trolls. The trolls are all the young ones. I feel like the ones that don't really know a lot about bodybuilding. They haven't been around much.
Yes, but I gotta say, with my, I'm 55, so. Yeah. The demographic that tends to be attracted to me is the older demographic usually. And I got to tell you, I am sometimes shocked at the level of immaturity, like the maturation process for a lot of these older guys. You would think like, when you're young, you're like, oh, adults, they act with common sense and they act, a certain way and they don't treat people like shit. Yeah, that's not true. There are a lot of people in that older demographic that I don't know how else to explain it other than they resent the fact that I've always said this in general, so this is a vague or a blanket statement, but it applies a lot of the time. Those who can't and don't resent those who can and do. So it comes down to resentment. I used to classify it as kind of an insecurity. It is. But it's, I think, more aptly explained or described as the resentment. And that resentment grows even more in the older demographic because they see that, I know I do it. I see the time slipping. Yeah. And then you put that with someone who hasn't achieved or doesn't like equate any type of success, especially in an endeavor that they might be passionate about or have always been passionate about since they were young. And then all of a sudden they have a reason in their mind to not like you, even though it has nothing to do with you personally. I mean, I'm a really nice guy these days.
Oh,
but I will find some serious hate.
Me too.
Now, back in the day, I deserved it,
That's like, that boils down to lack of accountability, though. You know what I mean? They're not accountable.
Oh,
that's what it is. Yeah,
sure.
You know,
yeah,
they'd rather
there's a lot to unwrap there.
Yeah, and when you're not accountable, you're blaming everybody for your non-success. You know, so you just stay.
And I think half of them don't even know it, or they don't even see it. Right. They don't break it down. And you know what? I always say I'm a well-paid online trainer. Been doing it for a long time, but I don't fit the therapist role very well, even with clients. If I have a rapport with them, okay, cool. But I'm not the guy who's over here, you know, the Tony Robbins, you can do it kind of guy. I expect that you're going to do it, and I'm going to hand you the tools to build your house. But if you hit yourself in the face with the hammer repeatedly, that's not on me. Don't feel bad about it. Like you're letting me down. You're letting you down. You know, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But the problem,
I want to transition a little. Go ahead.
The problem with those people sometimes, though, they blame you for not getting to where they want to be, but then they don't want to take accountability that they're not even putting in the work or doing what they need to do to get there. And then it all falls back on you.
Yes. Well, it's part of the reason that I pulled away from competitive or from contest prep. I used to do 95% contest prep. It's what I was known for back in the day, from the message boards and everything else. 2012, I just sat my wife down at a Applebee's, believe it or not. And I just said, I don't know if I can continue to do this. Like, careful what you wish for. I am to the point, and this is how I was explaining it to her at the time. Like, I'm to the point where I have built this and I almost hate what I have built, because what I was getting, this is the best way to explain it. I wonder if you guys feel this as well, because I think a lot of online trainers do, or a lot of prep guys do.
Yeah.
You can bring your client in their best condition ever. They take second because they have no control over who shows up. None of us do. We don't have any. I showed up at the 2003 Colorado State and Phil Heath was standing on stage with me. I don't have any control over that.
Yeah.
I had no chance to beat him. He was driving through McDonald's three times a week and didn't know any better. He was just starting out. And that's not a shot at him. That's just me being fair, making the comparison and contrasting the two, while I'm over here killing everything and doing everything right because I have to. And he destroys the field, goes into the pros very, very quickly, still driving through McDonald's. God love him, because if I could drive through McDonald's and get my pro card, I don't know. Maybe I would do that. And then rips through the pro ranks and is arguably one of the best bodybuilders who ever graced a bodybuilding stage. So we don't have any control over who stands next to us on stage. It happens. Sometimes we just get beat because we're just not as good as the guy standing next to us. But then they go on and they badmouth and then they scapegoat you. You're almost kind of a high price scapegoat, I guess, in certain situations.
They put the blame on the coach. And it can make you over the
years, right? And then and I mean, at the end of the day, the coach is responsible for how that client looks on stage. There's no question about that. I'm not denying that. I don't think you would. I don't think anybody would. But then there comes a point where you're in your best condition, but you didn't win. So be a grown-up and go back to the drawing board like most people do. And are you not enjoying the journey? I mean, are you so tied into the final destination and crossing the finish line that you're not enjoying the journey? And that, I think, without going in too many different directions, is what separates our generation from the next or the newer, younger generation. Is this younger generation, I feel, is more focused on how they look on social media and finishing. They want the pro card. They don't really care about the process or the journey in between, while our generation loves the process, lives for the training, and then the competition and the competing or the pro cards or the placings is just kind of a part of that. We want to do well and we want to win. But it's an extension. It's an extension of it, right? That's a good way, because I was trying to think, how do I explain this? But the passion is different about the train, and you can see it in the training. I don't want to talk too long because I want you guys on to talk. But
no, I agree with everything you're saying right now, Skip.
You got to love the process, and you got to love to work out and stay in shape and be mindful of that. And competing is that extra credit thing, that extra subjective thing that's allowed for the work ethic that's put forth to begin with, instead of kind of the half-ass backwards, like you said, So
I agree. It's bodybuilding for a reason. You're building your body, and and it's going to take time to get to where you want to be, right? And I think the problem with so many, you know, this isn't to put anybody down or anything like that, but I think the issue is so many people, they, you know, they hire a coach, they, you know, they get on, want to get on stage, they want to, you know, do a show, and then if they don't place the way that they want at the first show, they will put the blame on the coach. It's not the coach's fault. Now there is some times where you get a coach that is, you know, not a good coach. Don't get me wrong, but you have to also look at who are you going on stage with? How long have they been doing it for, too? You know, they've been doing it for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Or who are they on enhancements? You know, are you natural? I mean, there's a lot of things that play a role in this, right? So you can't get upset if someone else beats you, especially if they look better, you know, or they just fit the criteria, let's just say, whatever. You know, all you can do is get back to work and keep pushing on forward. You know, you can't get all upset and, you know, blame your coach. But I see a lot of people do that. And then they go to one coach. Then that coach has to relearn their body all over again. Right.
Yeah.
And then maybe something doesn't go well with that coach. And then they're at another coach. I mean, I'll be honest. I used to do that shit. You know, back in the day, I did that shit when I was 21, 22, 23, you know, and as I've grown more and became more successful as a female coach, I have seen it more so. And I've seen it, you know, I've worked with clients who've done it. You know, I mean, I have a pretty good rapport, but I've had people leave me for no reason, you know, and then I get girls that come back and it's like, oh, I was doing better with you. And you know, you're always going to deal with that, unfortunately. And I was at a place kind of like what you were saying. I was at a place where I was like, I've been coaching since I was started at, I don't know, when did I start coaching, babe? Gosh, 2014. Went full time in 2019. Yeah. And I was working
Yeah,
with a
your
lot
early
of
20s.
competitors.
You started coaching in your early 20s because you were good at it.
I was
You're good
working
with
with a
people. Yeah,
lot of competitors, and I love what I do, but it does put a lot of pressure on us coaches, you
Yeah.
know? And
I think there's a lot of people who think this is well, I'm certain of it because we have this giant sea of turds. I don't know if you've heard me reference this, but I've referenced it this way, the industry as far as online training as a giant sea of turds for a long time because I think it fits perfectly. I feel sorry for the person who doesn't know the industry and doesn't know what they're looking for because it's like they're standing on the shore looking out over the industry going,
coaches
like,
everywhere.
who do I work with? Like, I have no idea. And the flashy one or the one that gets the most likes or is the social media influencer is very typically not the person that you're going to be wanting to work with. They're an influencer and they're popular for reasons that have almost nothing to do with their ability. They're better at marketing. They're better at YouTube. They're better at that type of thing than they are actually getting people into condition and that sort of thing. But it's funny because I've always said too, if you're going to blame somebody, number one, don't blame the judges because it's a subjective sport and here's what people don't understand, I think, and they need to realize, get over their ego or get over themselves. The judges just don't care that much about you to need to screw you.
Yeah,
they just don't care. They're at the end of the day, it's a difficult job judging. It's a very long day with very few breaks. And you're always the person standing in the way. You're the target after a show. Chad Nichols used to bring me in for a few shows. I did a few shows when I lived in Colorado. I would go to Kansas and do a couple shows for him. And the reason he wanted me there was because he overheard me talking to one of the competitors after the show when I had to say repeatedly, I don't know you. I know nothing about you other than what I saw on stage. I have no reason to want you to not do well. And I don't know the person who beat you.
Yeah.
All the scores line up. My scores are what the scores were for the other judges. So I don't know what to tell you other than, I guess, just put in more time and get better. And I didn't say it shitty, but I did say it matter of fact. And he ended up, when he talked to me later, I thought, yeah, he's probably not going to like, you know, the conversation that I have. He's like, no, I appreciate it. You said exactly what you needed to say, what they needed to hear. And that's why I want you here. I like bringing in judges from out of town for that reason, because then they don't have the excuse that, well, I had clients or I knew someone
Not biased. Yeah, it's not biased.
No, there is no bias there. Like, I just don't care. But I will say this. If you want to blame somebody and you have put in the work, like your work ethic is there, you're doing everything right. But I always laugh and say, blame your parents, because I know I should have picked mine better. They love me and I love them dearly. But I got my mom's shoulders. I didn't get my dad's calves. I mean, I'm like, yeah, I should have looked a little higher on the shelves, like up in here instead of, down here on the bottom.
Yeah.
Give them shit about that, because the point that I'm making is a lot of what we do has this not predetermined, but this genetic component that life isn't fair, bodybuilding isn't fair. You're not going to win because you were the hardest worker in the room. The cool thing is if you're the hardest worker in the room, you can walk away, I think, from a defeat and feel like I did everything I could do. And what else can you ask for? At the end of the day, is that not what we're looking for?
That's all you can do. Your best.
Really? Exactly. Sometimes we just get beat by someone who's better than us. Maybe they didn't outwork us. Maybe they did outwork you. Maybe they didn't out-diet you. Maybe they did diet harder than you did. There's a lot there to unwrap.
Maybe they just had better shape or something.
Sure. And can you really train for that? That comes back to the genetic component too. I can't train.
Like Shanique, for example. Shanique, she won Woman's Physique, and then now she's in wellness, right? Her shape is, same with Sid Gillian, some of these girls, it's hard, it's a lot of it is genetics too. It's just,
I don't party, I don't drink, but if I could and I could get away with it and have a really fun social life, I own both.
Your bone structure is predetermined. You know what I mean? You can't change bone structure. You can change the amount of how much muscle you put on that frame. I mean, and then training for hypertrophy is a whole nother discussion. That's where the training thing comes in. And how hard do you work in the gym, and how much do you push to failure, or do you train with high intensity or progressive overload, or are you too busy filming yourself and looking at yourself, and you might be in the gym for 3 hours, but you're not really working out. I don't want to get into all that crap either, but
I'll tell you what, I think we're on the same page. I would love to segue into the training part, because what I want to know is, I understand that you're a young masters. You're not, how old are you now?
51.
You're not a woman. I won't ask Ariana what her age is, because that is like not the right thing to ask.
I'll tell you my age.
How old? How old, Troy?
Me or him?
Both of you. How about both?
I'm 32.
Well, I'm 51.
Oh, they're talking now. The viewers are like, wait a minute. They're like pulling out their phone. They're doing the math. They're like, 51, 32. Damn, Troy. The guys are like, high five, Troy. What's up? And Ariana's friends are like, okay. She learned something at some point. She's like, I need a mature man here.
My clients always ask me. I get clients that go, "Is your husband older than you? Like, what's the age gap?" And then they'll be like, "Is he in his 40s?" And I'm like, "Keep going up."
Well, he doesn't look. I want to say old, but I'm 55. I look 55. I'm okay with that. I accept that. Every now and then, when I'm leaner and I'm in good shape, I don't look 55 from the neck down. Maybe like a 53 and a half. But Troy has this going for him where, really, I would not have guessed that for your age, Troy. And when I heard that you were a Masters Pro and I saw your pictures online, I'm like, this is like open bodybuilding shit. Like, I would not have been surprised to hear that you got your card in the open division, which cuts to the point we were making earlier. 35 to 40 masters just shouldn't even be a thing, because it's still open bodybuilding. And I'm not trying to take anything away from, you or Andrew Barry, good friend of mine, does BSG. He got his Masters Pro card. Shelby Starnes. Look, that's all deserved. Anybody else could have shown up that day if they had a complaint about you getting your card, or Andrew or Shelby, and they could have stood next to you and tried to take that card, but they didn't. You could have gone and been as successful in the open division. So that pro card is legit. Where I think sometimes, I got to make sure I word this correctly. because I don't in any way want to offend anyone, because I am a Masters guy, and I'm to the point now where I do want to stand with the guys in my division, 50 to 60, because I can't stand out in an open division anymore. So I don't want to do. Now, if that was my only option, I would still do it to compete. But to have a chance to do well and compare myself, plus you have Masters shows at all these little shows where you got 1 or 2 competitors. So I'm not going to get a lot of competition at the lower level either.
These guys did all open USAs and nationals. The same guys I went against. You know, you had Chris Halfcost, which was from Colorado, I think.
Oh no shit! Yeah.
He was a freak, you know. I beat him. He got second to me. Mark
I prepped him for the Colorado Pro-Am in I don't want to get it wrong. If he's listening, sometimes he does. 06, I believe. It was the first year that it was a Pro-Am. Maybe it was the first year of the show, because Phil competed in it. Phil Heath, to be clear. He competed.
I didn't even know who he was, because Mark Herbalting showed up, and he was supposed to be the favorite to win. He got third. Chris beat actually Mark, you know.
Oh,
and then you got Pete Saccone, who always did USAs. He did really well. You know, John Meadows from back in the day, he competed there. So you got Joe DeRusi from Washington. He was also a big competitor. You had some big names in there.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, so that's the cool thing about the Masters. You got a lot of these old heads, and we've been banging and clanging for a long time. So it's not like, well, it happens. But
you're so funny.
You're not going to get someone who is like new to the game, typically, and hasn't competed, that just goes into Masters and does well. These are the old heads. They've competed for a long time.
They weren't that old then, because they were still in their mid-30s or barely 40. To me, that's not old. You know what I mean?
Right.
I guess when you're 30, it sounds old. Oh my God, you're 40. You're 10 years older than me. But you know, but looking back on it now, like that age range, they do open shows. You know that. There's a lot of 35, 40-year-olds doing USAs and nationals.
Yeah.
So
no question.
And George said that you're gonna go against the same group of guys. You're not avoiding them. You know, I just feel like you have a better shot at winning this show. So he just liked he liked Gary Udit, and he liked the setup there, and he just thought I just had a better shot. I don't know. I just listened to him. I'm like, I'm hiring you, not to micromanage you. I hired you to tell me what to do. So you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I just followed suit.
If we can, let's transition into the training a little bit, because I do want to touch on, look, you're, you know, and I see you on Instagram, I see you in the gym. It's kind of funny, because I told my wife one day, I'm like, I think Troy thinks that I'm either stalking him, or I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm following him around, because every time I go to a different gym, like if I go to Busybody, I might bump into, not every time, but I may bump into you there. If I go to Atlantic Fitness, I bump into you there, and they can be at different times. Like you could be later at night at Atlanta. So I'm like, he's gonna be like, what the fuck?
I'm gonna bring something up, because you just said that. We remember my wife and I saw you at Atlantic Fitness, and we never even got to work out. We talked for so long.
Yeah. That's right. I remember finishing going, damn, I still have to train back. Like we talked for an hour, and I don't usually do that. But I was like, man, this day was a good conversation.
My wife's like, I'm depleted. I have to get out of here. I don't think we can work out.
I gotta eat.
I was dieting or something.
I don't remember.
And that makes complete sense. I know I was caught off guard by it, because I just got caught up in the conversation.
But it was just kind of blah. Like, that was late too. And then I'd remember see you at Busybodies, and I'd be like, what the hell's he doing? Usually he's not on this schedule. And then I'm like, well, I guess we're on the schedule.
Typically, it's when my wife wants to go to Busy. She prefers Busybody. It's 5 minutes closer. There's the logic, like 5 minutes. I'm like, when we lived in Colorado, we lived at 9,000 feet. We'd have to drive an hour to the gym. So I think she's just over that phase of our life. She's like, I'm going to save 5 minutes if I could save 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But anyway, I do want to come back to the training, because what I noticed with you is, okay, he's older, not as old as me. I'm going to keep saying this just so people don't get confused here. But you've been in this game for a long time, and it appears, correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears that you have kind of not resolved. You're not resolved to the fact of, okay, I am getting older. I am going to pull back my poundage. You're still banging good numbers on the basics, the deads, while everybody else is going, okay, we used those exercises when we were younger. I'm setting those aside now because of the risk and the vulnerability. You're still in there banging. You're at Crunch Fitness pulling from the floor. You're in there squatting. There aren't a lot of people in that gym or in those type of franchise or chain gyms that are putting up those kinds of, you know, numbers. And especially, of course, with the physique that you have. Are you basically of the mind that you have, I'm going to dance with the one that brought me as long as I can until I don't have a choice? Or have you started to transition away from that so those movements don't make up as much of your training as they used to? How are you approaching it? I'm just curious what's going on in your head as far as the programming as you do log those years.
Well, for me, for training, like in order for me to train really hard by myself and get the workout that I feel like I need to do, even though I'm not competing, and my wife thinks I'm crazy. Like, why are you training like that? You're not competing now, you know. But but my wife's opinion aside, you know, I feel like I try to set the bar higher than what I can do. That way I can fall somewhere in between, like shoot for the stars, follow the moon kind of a thing. And
right.
And I take that high intensity approach because I don't like to do a lot of volume. I'm not into doing 20. I'm not the Jay Cutler, not Jay Cutler. He's awesome. So,
Right.
but I don't want to be in the gym an hour and a half, 2 hours doing 30, 40 sets of body part. You know, I'd rather do 12, 13, 14 sets and I'm good. In order to achieve that and hit that high intensity or even slightly go progressive overload, I need the third or fourth set, I need a blast. You know, I need to go as hard as I can and as heavy as I can. And if my body and my joints are allowing it at that time instinctively, then I do it. I go with it. If not, then I back off. I don't quite go as heavy. So I kind of go by how I feel depending on you know, the second or third set in, whether it be squats or deads or whatever it is. So I'm not just going to the gym thinking, okay, I'm older now, so I think I need to start backing off. No, I kind of just listen to my body. If it feels healthy, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do those compound exercises. I still won't veer from them. You know what I mean?
Well, and what I hear you saying is you're still passionate about your training, which is what we touched on earlier. That I think is one of the major differences between the two generations right now. And I say between because I'm still in the game, so I can see both. There's a lot of us at my age that are still in the game, and then there's a lot of the young guys coming in. And I have made this point before, and I'm curious what you think too. The new generation might be smarter than I'm giving them or I have given them credit for. They don't typically, and I understand this is a blanket statement, so it doesn't apply to everyone. But what I've seen in my experience is the next generation, the younger generation, doesn't typically train as hard. Therefore, either on purpose or not, their recovery tends to be more optimal. And I'm beginning to think two things. Number one, they don't have the injury rate that the old heads do, because I just think we have that old head work ethic. When in doubt, do more. When in doubt, train more. When in doubt, do more cardio. When in doubt, do more gear. When in doubt, you know, diet harder. The younger generation is more, I don't want to, not thought provoking, but they're more into the studies. They're more into there's a ton of information out there where there wasn't for us. We had more trial and error. It's like I have
they're more into complicating things too, I think.
True. I can't deny that either. But I'm trying to see the difference between the two. And I do see this. They do recover better. And there are a lot of young physiques that are pretty damn good, arguably more than the younger physiques of our generation. But there could be other variables. It's clearly not a subculture underground thing like it used to be. There are a lot more people in gyms. Back in our day, or back in my day, not our day. Back in my day, there was more, like in the 80s. You really just went to the gym if you wanted to be huge and strong. You didn't go there to be like, oh, I want to look like an athlete.
There's a lot of fitness. There's a lot of fitness centers, not really gyms. You know what I mean? I think Dorian Yates even said that. You know, so you get a lot of people working out, but to stay healthy. I'm not knocking anybody for going to the gym because that's 50%. That's half the battle is showing up. You know that. You know, but as far as the bodybuilding hardcore gyms, those are fading. You know, you don't see those anymore. You know, there's very few and far between of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So well, it's hard to make money in that demographic as well. So from a
it depends on where you're at,
standpoint,
too. But like Planet Fitness makes a lot of money. Planet Fitness, they make a shit ton of money. You know that. That's a
we can
business
knock the gym as far as the atmosphere and the concept of it, but from a business standpoint, brilliant.
They're killing it.
Give overweight people pizza and donuts twice a month. Give them a ridiculously cheap membership that they don't cancel when they're not using it, because maybe I'll come back next month. Oh no, the business, whoever is running that, whoever's behind that brand is you can't turn on New Year's Eve. It used to be Dick Clark, but now it's the countdown with, I don't even know who it is. What do you see? You see all these Planet Fitness hands and hats and everything else. So their marketing ability, what it used to be like the Bally's and the 24-hour fitness, it was commonplace for these businesses to go bankrupt and have to restructure because they would grow, and then they just weren't able to handle it. They weren't able to generate the money. Exact. Planet Fitness, from what I understand, has not had that problem, and they do quite well. So from a business standpoint, I think it's great. We don't want to train there because it has that negative connotation of, you know, the lunk alarm. And I've heard, you know, we've all heard the horror stories. You walk in with a tank top and they're like, no, or a water jug or something. But the truth is they're all different based on that owner, because there are some that aren't like that too. So, right. That's a rabbit hole that I probably need to stay out of.
Yeah, they just got a bad rep a while back.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Maybe they did that on purpose. I mean, think about it. It's such a contradiction to say that they're a no judgment atmosphere, a no judgment gym, when they're clearly judging the meatheads.
That's how
like with anything else, if it fits your narrative, it's okay to judge. Same thing.
Yeah, I can mention like Crunch and a few other gyms that are like that, but that's a whole nother issue. You know,
well, the only issue I have with Crunch is because it's very difficult at peak hours. I mean, you're basically waiting on a machine. It's elbow to elbow in any Crunch Fitness I've ever been. Off hours, it's probably great because I understand they're very well equipped. So you know, it is what it is. But
now they have the EOS gyms. Those are brand new. I don't know if you've been to an EOS. Yeah. But,
I have. I'm waiting on the one down here, downtown West Palm, which doesn't relate to very many of the viewers. But real quick, they're going to put in an incredibly well equipped gym down here. But it's going to be it's going to be on lines with a signature amp. It's going to be about a $250, $300 a month. It's going to be in one of the Ross buildings that they just built down here. So towel service, things like that, which is kind of tough for me because it'll be a couple blocks from me. So it'll be very convenient, very well equipped. But I have a feeling if I go in there and start making any noise at all, I'm going to be like that. Nah. Yeah. Well, and I wouldn't have a problem with it. But I also don't really want to show up to a gym every day as the black sheep and be seen as the, you know, the eye roll of the gym either. So there's that. So let me touch on real quick. You said before we started that you have Colorado, you have some, not roots, but you spent some time in Colorado, and we missed each other. I moved there in 97, took about 21 years, 22 years, something like that, raising the kids in Evergreen. And then we moved to Florida, but you were there until 96.
Correct.
Yep. And you went to school, you were on the Western Slope, right?
It was Mesa State College back then. So I went there for 4 years. Then I graduated in 96. All my bodybuilding came from there. That's when I started bodybuilding. Because 93 is when I started bodybuilding, and then 94 I started competing. So
how old were you in 93?
19.
Okay, I was trying to do the math in my head. I wasn't sure. So you were in college?
Yes, I was in college already.
Okay. Troy, did you get to Denver at that time? As far as, I mean, that's a long way away. You're on the western, for people who don't know, in Colorado, the Western Slope is west of the Rockies, or in the Rockies, I guess. And then Denver is pretty much at the base of the Rocky Mountains, or what most people call in Colorado the foothills. We used to always say, we're going to go down the hill or we're going to go up the hill. Like instead of saying go home or, go to the city.
Grand Junction's 30 miles from the Utah border. Okay.
Yep.
From on the west. So you got quite a ways before you go through all those mountains before you get to Denver. Denver's
and there was no Armbrust Pro back then. There was Harry's and there were places like that. But it is a big bodybuilding. I don't want to say it's a mecca, But there's a lot since Phil coming from, Denver, and coming out of Armbrust Pro Gym, a lot of people have made that trip, and some people will move there just because of the gym. They're moving to Denver, and Denver's a big place for California and Texas residents anyway. California can get out of the, all that taxation, and Texas, I'm not even real sure why they come up, but nonetheless, it was big even during the recession. We were taking in, I think they were saying it was a growth of 60,000 a year. But anyway, it has become a big bodybuilding kind of hub, if you will. Yeah. Sure. If you take out the East Coast and the West Coast. So I guess you could call it the Midwestern Mecca, if you will. Tons of competitors, great environment to train in. I mean, I trained at Armbrust for probably the last 4 or 5 years that I was there. They didn't have daycare, and I always had my kids.
Me and Dylan used to be teammates. We both competed at the juniors together back in 03.
Okay.
Yeah. So John O'Regan was our coach. I don't know if you know who John O'Regan was.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I do. God, that's going back.
He's one of the he was the old school coach trainer from way back in the day, from the 80s, Yeah. So he goes way back. Yeah.
Yeah. Back when the trainers used to actually get in their car and drive up and down the East Coast meeting their clients before there was, social media and the technology to be able to do the check-ins with pictures, and then of course with video and everything else. I am wondering too, as far as when you started, what was the point where you thought, like, I'm pretty good at this? Did it start to show right away when you started? And I want to ask Ariana the same thing. I mean, it sounds like, based on what Ariana was saying, this has come relatively quickly. And let's be fair, not a shot to bikini competitors or anyone outside of bodybuilding, but the bodybuilding.
If anybody got good really quick, it was my wife. I've never seen. No, I'm being straight on. I'm not just saying it because it's her, but the evolution of her physique from just a couple of years to go from like 10th to 3rd to a pro card. I didn't do it that fast. It took me a long time,
Yeah, exactly. Well, but it does in bodybuilding because there's that development that we need in the bodybuilding division does take longer. But my question is this: were you prepping her? What do you get any credit? I should ask Ariana. Do you get any credit because you guys were together? Were you together at that time? Yeah, you were together at that time. 11 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So were you coaching her, or was somebody else coaching her?
I helped her with training and like posing as far as all that goes. I pushed her in the gym. She always hired a nutritionist or a dietitian, so to speak, to cover the nutrition aspect for her accountability. If things didn't
stay married, I mean, let's be fair.
Yeah, she goes, I want you to be my husband, not my coach.
Yeah, so. Exactly.
And I needed that. Like, I needed somebody that, because I need to keep my relationship, marriage separate, because we would bump heads, and I needed somebody to tell me what to do to get me from A to B, kind of thing. Like, I needed that support system, because I never had a lot of support in the bodybuilding industry anyways, besides my husband supporting me and my brothers and things like that, but I never got a lot of support. So I needed someone there that I was checking in with weekly, because for me, I'm being straight honest, I won't hold myself accountable. And if my husband's telling me what to do, I'm just going to go, yeah. And then, it's just, it's different. It's not that I don't respect him. It's just that it never worked. So that's why I always hired someone. And I've worked with a couple of different, I've had a lot of different coaches. I mean, I can tell you the coaches that I really, really, that stood out to me, that I enjoyed working with, that I felt that really got me where I need to be. But I've worked with a lot of people over the years, Well,
I think it's good advice for the viewers. If you are not even necessarily married, but even just together and you're dating boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, boyfriend, girlfriend, girlfriend, whatever you do, that's fine. But when you start to mix the two, I know I've been with my wife for 32 years. She's seen everything bodybuilding. She knows everything bodybuilding backwards and forwards. But there are times where I've caught her where she'll be like, I'll hear her say, "Oh, that's a really good idea," after getting advice. I'm like, I just said the same thing almost verbatim 3 days ago. And that's what I think we do as partners or in a relationship is we tend to not necessarily downplay what that person is saying, but at the end of the day, you're my spouse, you're my boyfriend, you're my girlfriend. I'd rather hear it from somebody else. So to keep those things separate, it really, I think, soulmates, whatever you want to call it, that's cool and everything else. But it's good to separate that time whenever you can. I even have wondered, what's it like you two working together too? Well, I want to transition to the Pam situation, and I'm thinking, okay, so how did that work as far as you guys working with Pam? Did you work with her and Troy was kind of lending a helping hand, or was it just all you?
I have worked with Pam for about 7 years. I've been coaching Pam. There was a little bit of a gap, but I've been doing her nutrition and making sure her hormones are optimal, for quite some time. And then Troy did her posing. So, I did
100% of all her posing.
Besides figure, when she was competing in figure, I did her figure posing, and then when she went to women's physique bodybuilding, Troy took over. So we basically she looks at us like we're both her coaches,
Gotcha.
So
okay.
But yeah, when I first met Pam, she was training out of a gym. She was working with this other trainer, just like he was training her. He was doing I don't think he was doing. I think he might have been doing her nutrition some, but I'm not sure. But she wanted to work with somebody who was familiar with the bodybuilding world, and that's been around it for longer. But she came a long ways, and when she did her last show, she was 70 years old. So she's been at this for a while. But the thing with Pam too is a lot of people don't know is that Pam's not your average 7-year-old. Pam works a full-time job. Kidding. She owns a veterinarian clinic, very successful. She's a workhorse. She works 5, 6, 7 days a week. And on top of it, she still gets her training in. She makes no excuses. There are times where she misses her meals and I have to get on her. She knows that, but she's the definition of a true champion, so, and she's amazing. 7 years old, and most people in their 70s aren't doing what she does. I'll just say that.
No, and talk about a messed up sleep schedule. I know mine looks bad, but at least mine's consistent. That woman, that's how I met her, because we would be together in the gym. We'd be the only ones in there 90% of the time because it was late at night. And she does not, she's much like myself. I'm training, not that, I'm going to be a jerk, but I'm not going to engage in conversation unless it's before or after I'm training typically, and especially if I don't know you. So we just got to talking one day, and when she told me her age, I was blown away. And the fact that she competed, I wasn't surprised. That's, I think, what opened the conversation when I said something to her, because she's just so insanely lean that I just thought, holy, I'm in prep and I'm halfway through prep and I'm looking at you going, wow, you're in incredible condition. So we got to talking. Oh, I figured as much. Yeah.
Her carbs,
I figured that was the case.
Her carbs are 500-ish. She's gotten to 600-ish carbs before. Obviously this last prep was a little different where her carbs are up. They were still high. Her fats were still high. But for her, it wasn't high. She was starving all the time.
She was prepping at the same time I was. So I assumed she was going to Masters Nationals. But from what I understand, she had a situation there a couple years ago, and it might have happened even more than once, where she came up just short and didn't get her pro card. So she decided, or she just decided with you as her coach, that you guys were going to do North Americans. She goes to North Americans 5 weeks after Masters Nationals, and I'm excited to hear what she's done, and I'm not hearing anything. And then I saw something on Instagram where she won her class, but then I didn't hear anything else. What happened there? I know now what happened, but I want to hear it from you. What happened with that?
So basically, okay. So now, well, first off, I would have done had her done Masters Nationals, but she wanted to wait till she was 70 years old. Okay.
That's right.
So
that's right. I forgot about that.
Because she was turning 70 right before North Americans. So we decided North Americans. Now, with the rules with North Americans, which it's always been this way, if you win first place in the bodybuilding, and they could say the overall, but bodybuilding the Masters, you get your pro card. that's how it's always been, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And there's no
Your division
overall for
winner.
her anyway. Yeah. So, you know, she was the only one who competed in the 70 and over. You know, I mean, let's be real. Who's going to show up? Most people aren't going to show up in the 70 and over. You're lucky to get maybe 2 or 3 girls. If you get 4, you're doing a great job. Okay.
Right.
She was the only one. She came. I was told before she got on stage, backstage, the guy's like, "You're the only one in your class. You're going to come home with a pro card." And she was so excited. And, you know, of course, you know, people are going to say, well, she was the only one in her class. But, you guys have to understand. These, you know, people have to understand. You look at her. I mean, she deserves it. Okay. And she went on stage, did her thing. And then for the night show, she gets on stage, does her thing. And then they just say first place and give her reward. And she's like, what the hell? You know, why do I not have a pro card?
But no pro card. Yeah, just the medal. She walks off.
Yeah.
And she's
So
super confused.
And we didn't go. We always go to national shows. We didn't go because we had, you know, stuff going on. And we're watching the live stream, and I'm like, what the fuck? And you could see in her face just the disappointment, you know, just the sadness, the just what just happened, and we're freaking out. She gets off the stage. I was like, she's gonna call me because I had 2 other athletes competing too. I was like, she's gonna call me. She called me right away. She was so upset. She sounded like she wanted to cry, to be honest with you. And I would have too.
Sure.
And she was, you know, going around trying to find, you know, the promoter of the show. And she finally got in touch with him. And he was just like, you just need to reach out to Tyler. And I'm sorry, but we changed the rules 4 years ago. No, they didn't. And I guess apparently because she had no one in her class, there has to be, I think, 3 or more people in your class to get your pro card. So the fact that nobody showed up, but she didn't get a pro card.
4 people.
And I'll say this, you can't help who decides not to show up. Okay, if you're doing a pro qualifier and the rules have been set in place, and you know if you win your class, no matter who shows up or whatever, and you don't get your pro card because Susie, Carol, and whoever else didn't show up, that's not your fault. That's not your fault. You still paid them. You paid. You traveled. You worked your ass off. You did everything that you were supposed to do, and not to be on stage and not have that moment and think you're going to get your pro card, not get your pro card at the show it's disheartening, especially for someone who's at her age. And you know, I get people when they're younger, they all work hard, but this is a little different, in my opinion. You know,
well, of course, it's crossing the finish line potential.
Yeah,
and I don't want to give my opinion yet. I'm going to let you guys give yours, and then I'm going to jump in at the end. Yeah,
she's not going to be doing this forever. This is kind of like almost like a closing door. Kind of like I did what I need to do. Maybe I might do a Masters Pro show, like 1, but I'm done after that. So this was kind of like just the ending of like being able to move forward and be happy with, you know, accomplishing that goal. So I had reached out to Tyler, which Tyler's very nice. You know, he's always been very good to us at shows when we see him and stuff, and he's judged me several times. And I did send out, you know, a nice email, and I know Pam did too. And they did honor her that pro card, and they gave it to her, which she was very excited about. But still, at the end of the day, she didn't get to have that moment on stage, and that's what bothers me, because she won't be able to go back and have that memory of her on stage holding that IFBB Pro card. And I know some people think, oh, whatever, it's just a pro card, but for her, and you know, for someone that's put all that work in and energy, and at her age, it's different. You know, I would say it's different. So, but yeah, she got a pro card, so she's happy. But I myself, I told her I want to get a copy of, you know, because I have the big old, you know, pro card thing, the thing they give you on stage. I wanted to try to get a copy of that and give her it so she can at least laminate it and put it on her wall. Yeah. So
I like that.
Yeah. So,
Troy, do you have anything? What was your opinion on that? If it differs at all from Ariana, I mean, I don't know that it does. That's a difficult situation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like knock any promotions or as far as the NPC goes. You know, because they made it right, I guess, at the end of the day, and that's what matters. You know, if they didn't make it right, then you and I would have probably a whole different discussion. You know, at least coming from my point of view. And they made it right pretty quickly within 72 hours, within 2-3 days.
No, no, it was longer than that. It was over a week. She had to write them again.
Well, it didn't seem that long of a timeline. Maybe to Pam it did, but whatever powers may be, they fixed it. You know, they got it correct as far as the petition goes, or what do you want to call it? You know, and it's mainly due to the fact of what even Pam was talking about. She's like, if you don't set things rule-wise in place on your application, that there's got to be a certain amount of competitors per class, otherwise the pro card is not granted. I don't see that in your application. I don't see in your processing. You know, I don't see that implicated anywhere. So how can you push a rule like that verbally? You know what I mean? And I think maybe possibly that's what Tyler didn't want to deal with, or they didn't want to deal with, and they're like, fine, we'll just grant the pro card. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I see it that same way without being too frank about it, I should say. But I agree with that whole thing. You know, if you're going to put a rule in place, have the competitors sign up knowing what they're signing up for. You know what I mean? So
she wouldn't even have done this show. She wouldn't have even done this show if she knew something like this was going to happen. She was doing a pro qualifier to get her pro card. She wasn't just trying to do a state show like Southern States, which she won that, but she wasn't trying to just do a state show. You know, she already won a state show, and that was the goal when she started her competition season, is let's get your pro card, because she came close 2 other times, you know, and she was like, I'm 70 now. You know, when she was in the 60s, she was on the, you know, she was close to the 70s, so she had to go against the younger girls that were in the, you know, early 60s. So it was a little bit more difficult, you know, because your skin changes, you know, the muscle fullness, you know, things change as you get older, right? Although she has gotten better, I will say this: the older Pam has gotten, she's gotten better. Not many people can say that when they reach that age. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was unfortunate, the whole situation, and I wish that didn't happen, because it did kind of ruin her. I wouldn't say ruin her whole time that she was away, but it was hard for her to even enjoy her family time after that, because she was so upset.
Yeah, and I don't. I'm going to piggyback off of what you guys are saying, and I'm going to ask the viewers to do this. Pretend, because you're not crossing the finish line. Most people listening to this are either non-competitors, or they may want to compete, or, you know, they're in the early stages, or maybe even their prime of competing. They're not closing in on, you know, the 4th turn of a race, and the finish line is within their view. So try to put yourself in Pam's position. You wait for the time so that you turn 70. You know that you're setting yourself up for a situation where this is the best position you can be in to get a pro card. Typically at that age, as the masters divisions get older, the amount of competitors and the level of competition does go down. It's really good still in the 35 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 60 to 70, arguably. When it gets up, as it gets up higher, though, the field thins. I mean, let's be fair. It's not just a health standpoint. It's life variables. It's, can you still train because your joints aren't, everything hurts? And this is a really, I need to make sure that I say this correctly with all due respect.
Yeah.
But the people there aren't as many people as like competitors, because there aren't as many people. People don't argue. Some people don't reach the age of 70, let alone to be able to compete. So put yourself in her shoes and do the work. And when I say do the work, I saw her grinding. Like, I witnessed that she was doing the diet, excuse me, and not just doing it, but she was killing it like any other competitor would. The training, the sleep schedule, balancing that with work. She was sleeping sometimes 4 hours. She would train, she would sleep another 2 hours and then go to work. I mean, this is not normal stuff.
No,
so
it's not.
I want the viewers to understand that there was This wasn't just someone who showed up and wasn't in shape and was heavy or didn't have muscle. And the viewers will see the picture, because I want, you know, I want the viewers to understand what we're dealing with here. And then show up, and because no one, for no other reason than no one else showed up, she doesn't get the pro card. So now she not only doesn't get the pro card, but she doesn't even get the competition. She doesn't have any competition. That's bad enough. No one really wants to show up after doing all that work to no competition. I know there are people with no pro cards who are like, well, I don't know, I'd take a pro card that way.
Right.
On the surface. Right. But I know I've showed up to shows back in the 2000s where I was excited that I won. But then about a week later, I realized I beat a mediocre field. But then there are times where I take a third or a fourth, and there might be someone, oh, Phil Heath won. Oh, William Reese. You're from, I don't know if you know William Reese, Troy, but a legend in Colorado. He shows up at 49 and smokes everybody while water is running off him like a waterfall. I mean, who sweats like that on stage and is hard as granite? William Reese. Then you got Doug Stewart. I've been beaten by Doug Stewart from Colorado. He's great. You have there's sometimes the competition, the level of competition, especially if you're passionate about what you do, you're okay with getting beaten if the people in front of you are legit. You're like, man, I'd rather be in this field than to take a win that is mediocre. So she doesn't get the competition, any competition part of it, after all that sacrifice. And this is arguably the last rodeo. You want to take all this in. You want this to be the Derek Jeter last hit of your career, or the last home run that you're going to hit in your baseball career, whatever. Brady's last touchdown pass, whatever. And instead, she not only doesn't get the competition, but doesn't get the pro card. And then I will agree with you guys. They did make it right. And I'm glad that they did. But yet the moment was, in a way, it was stolen. So it's almost probably bittersweet for her. Like, yes, I got it. But man, I would have liked to have had that moment. And she was robbed of that. And here's my thing. What did the IFBB, or what did the NPC lose or gain by not giving her the pro card anyway? Like, are you worried you're going to stack the 70+ division in the pro ranks? Like, there's too many competitors. What are we thinking here? So I want to believe that it was kind of an oversight, but yet at the same time, if it was an oversight, that's a bad oversight. You're not going to make that oversight in the open division. You're not going to make that oversight in the other division. So by making that, if it was an oversight in the 70+, you're basically sending the message, this division isn't important. At least that's the perception.
It screams not fair to me.
Sure.
And it just, I mean, if I was in her position, I would have been, and I told my husband, I mean, that whole night I couldn't sleep. Like, I was so upset. I was happy for my other two girls because they did amazing. They didn't go pro, but they were very close to it. But I was so upset because I was just like, I felt for her. And I knew even, writing the IFBB and, her potentially getting the pro card, which, she got, it's just, you don't get that moment on stage. And it almost feels like you didn't even get your pro card, even though you got, and you don't have like I said, you don't have those pictures to go back on and look back at you on stage. And that, I think that's, for a lot of people, that's the moment that matters the most. At least for me, when I went pro, that was a special moment that I got to have on stage. And, even though you're not on stage that long, it was probably the best minute or two I had of my life, competing wise, so it's just, honestly, I don't, a little heartbreaking. And, but I mean, she seems very positive. That's just how Pam is. She's a very positive kind of woman. She just keeps going. But I do know deep down inside it does affect her a little bit, so.
And I can understand that I know it would affect me. I could think back to Masters Nationals, because that was supposed to be my last rodeo. And had I been in a situation like that, I know it would have bothered me as well. It's, at the end of the day, I'll wrap it up with this. At the end of the day, our successes and the things that we do throughout our life, especially when they're tied to something that has so much meaning to us personally, those, I mean, at the end of the day, it's about memories. It's not even really about the pro card, but the memory of that in that moment. So those moments are arguably priceless. And she wasn't, I wouldn't say she was robbed of it. That's me being kind of, maybe a little bit melodramatic, because if she were robbed of it, then I would define that more as there was intent to rob her. I don't think there was, but whether it was an oversight or what happened, she came up short. They need to be on top of things like that in the future. And hopefully that's how they're looking at it, so that that doesn't happen, not only in that division, but any other division as well. Things happen. I understand there are mistakes made. Okay, cool. If that's what it was, I completely understand. I am glad they made it right, or as right as they could under the circumstances. But that was a pretty bad F up. And
I agree.
I'll kind of,
I agree. And you know, other people that were in some of those classes too went through the same thing too, you know, so
and it can, you got a lot of competitors, you have a lot of divisions, but that's no excuse. You have to be on top of all of that stuff.
Yeah, because I remember when I went to Masters Nationals, there was this really sweet woman, and she was the only one in her class in 70 and over, and she won her pro card. And you know, it was really awesome to see her do that. And it just, and I've seen it North Americans too. Only one person in that class in the 70 and over, 60 and over, and they won their pro card too. So it was, it's crappy, but it was good. It's, you know, it was a negative that turned into a positive, right? So it was good, but then at the same time, you know, it's, you know what I mean? So yeah,
no, I agree. On that note, we're going a little bit, well, about an hour and 12 minutes. So I'm going to wrap it up. I appreciate you guys taking the time to get with me and talk bodybuilding on This Week in Bodybuilding. But I do want you guys to be able to give the viewers your information if anyone wants to reach out to you with questions or potentially working with you, you know, as a coach. How do they contact you guys?
Well, just my Instagram, Ariana Arlene Fit, I think. Something like that. / No, just Ariana Arlene Fit. Pretty positive it's that, or Tate Fitness Training on Instagram. I changed my Instagram recently, my name, so that's probably why I can't remember. Or a website, tatefitness.com. So, you know,
mine's just my name. It's just Troy Tate _ Tate Fitness for my Instagram. So or through the website, or through the tatefitness.com, or through the other Instagram, the Tate Fitness Training, right? The Tate Fitness Training. Yeah, babe. So pretty simple.
Cool.
Yeah. Did I refer to you as Dave even once today? How did I do? Did I screw up?
No, I think you said Troy the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah, you did good, Sked.
It helps that your name is right next to you on the layout.
Yeah.
But nonetheless,
I was kind of forced to put that in there. So,
well, and just so that the viewers understand, it's not that I don't know your name. What I do is I screw up because I have been a columnist and a coach with Elite FTS for almost 13 years. So I have in the past been guilty of calling you Dave in reference to Dave Tate, because my brain is wired or programmed as Dave follows Tate. Now, the other part is we do have a son named Tate, but that's his first name, so I won't screw that up. And you don't look like my son. Yeah, Tate. Yeah. He's our only boy. He's 25 years old, and we're getting ready to leave tomorrow for Milwaukee. We're going to go see the kids. All the kids are in Milwaukee. That's a long story because we raised them in Colorado. I won't get into it now. We're in Florida, but they ended up in Milwaukee to go to school with their families and everything else. But anyway, I want to thank you guys for joining me.
Thank you, Skip.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.